Okay, so I wrote a Instagram post where I was explaining how frustrated I was being in your late 20s and trying to figure shit out. And in it, I said, how do you make money, forge a career path, make good friends, work with your partner on your relationship, rebuild family dynamics, write an email that lets the other person know that while you seem like an entitled, privileged millennial, you actually really value their time and advice and are simultaneously in awe and terrified of them. And I feel like people really resonated, or at least my friends resonated with what I wrote. And I was told mainly two things. Everyone feels this way, and it's better in your 30s. So I also thought I'd kind of address some of the things because I don't want to just put it out there because I think some people thought it was like a cry for help, which I regularly do that in therapy every week. This post was not a cry for help. Well, thank you for caring. But I guess there are things that I do that you can do. It just feels like not all the time they're working, or they're very efficient, or they have any sort of immediate, like, what's it called? Immediate gratification. The first one, how do you make money? I've talked to one of my best friends about this, and she was saying how your job does not have to be your career. What you do to bring in the dough, to pay your rent, to blah, 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 put food on the table, doesn't have to be the most fulfilling dream job ever. It can literally just, that sole purpose of that thing is to bring in money. So my career, my love, what I want to like build a thing on, I don't know what this was. This was me climbing a ladder. That's really what I was trying to do. Is in the music industry. I'm a film composer, and that's what I would really like to do. For making money, I've done everything from working as a waiter, working as a catering assistant, various admin jobs, desk admin, customer service. Most recently, I've done I'm doing shop jobs kind of in like the sports industry, so like in a sports store and that kind of thing. And yeah, like you can build a career in retail, but that's not what I want to do. I work in those industries like administration, logistics, customer service, and retail in order to bring in money. And then separate from that is my career of trying to, work on my craft and my artistry and my technical skills and that kind of thing. So yeah, I guess that's the first thing about how you make money. And that's how I'm making money. Forging a career path. I talked about that. Okay. Forging a career path, since mine is in entertainment, it's really like even just cold emailing people, trying to get connections, trying to network, which I am terrible at. I am so aware that the dynamic of networking is trying to like get to know people so that maybe they can help you later, and ideally so that you can help them. But at this stage in your career, like you're so young, you're just starting out, there isn't really anything I can do. Like I so badly wish I could be like, hey, like person who is older and wiser and more successful than me, can you help me out? I wish there was something I could do to like pay. I know like they can do it out of the goodness of their heart and because they believe in you, want to give you a chance, and so that you can like improve the industry. And also like, often like I love when like women mentors like help me, and it's like women helping other women, or like people of color helping people of color. But so often I'm just like, can I come to your house and like do your dishes for a week and just like show you how thankful I am that you like took this call or like chatted with me for 15 minutes? It seems ridiculous, but like in my head I was like, I'm like, I know I seem like an entitled millennial bullshit like young adult. I want to like show you that I so deeply value like what you have to say, and I'm terrified of you, and I'm very nervous meeting you, and had to listen to like 40 minutes of Diane Krall singing in order to calm down to like take this call. You know what I mean? Okay, the other thing was make good friends. It is hard making friends as an adult. It's just, I mean, everyone kind of already, or at least in my case, I'm very introverted. I love hanging out with the people who are close to me or people that I like, but it's so hard for me to just like put myself out there when like things are new and no one really knows each other and suss it out. It's like dating, but like worse, because I feel like with dating, even if you don't really think that person's a good partner, you can still kind of hang out with them. But it's friendships, like the whole point is to hang out with them. So if you don't have fun hanging out with them, like, I don't know, it's hard. I was really lucky that I ended up going to my master's program, and I felt like that, like, I basically became friends with everyone who I met, like, from school. So it's like school for adults, right? Oh, that's just so sweet. You know what I'm talking about. Basically, I did the old school thing of going to school, making friends with your schoolmates, except for, in this case, everyone's, like, older. Or kind of making friends with your work colleagues. I feel like that's, again, kind of tricky because you don't often have a lot in common, but sometimes you meet cool people there and then you can, like, make friends with them. Or you can make friends with, like, your partner's friends. Yeah. I don't know, I haven't super figured that one out yet. I'm still trying to, I can't talk to more than, like, 3 people at one time, so it's always, like, either I'm talking to 3 friends, old friends, or, like, 3 new friends, or, like, my boss, a coworker, and, like, a new person reaching out to you, or 3, like, I'm always trying to juggle people, and I end up just not writing back to people, and it's really bad. Okay, work with your partner on your relationship. This is, I feel like I have to say this is not sponsored, but, like, who the fuck would sponsor me? I'm, like, a fucking, like, rando person talking. I saw on Instagram that I'm gonna, like, go from, like, easiest to, like, hardest. Easiest one is on Instagram. I saw, like, an ad for this app called Paired. It seems really stupid, but, like, basically every day you get a free question. Otherwise you have to subscribe to it, but you get a free question that you and your partner answer, like, on your separate phones when you download the app, and you can't see your partner's answer unless you've answered it. And I really like this, first of all, because there's just questions that you might not, like, think to ask. There's one that was talking about, I already talked about this briefly before, but there was one that, like, talked about, like, what do you appreciate that your partner does? And then just reading that my partner really, like, appreciated that I made him lunch. I was like, oh, I didn't realize that you picked up on that. Or one was like, how do you show that you care about them when you're arguing? And we both said that we, like, use touch, like, even when we're talking and we're kind of angry, we'll still, like, put a hand on another person to let them know that, like, I still love and care about you even though we're fighting. So I just thought it was nice. And then what me and him specifically have done is when we've read the other person's response, it, like, lets you react to it the way you can, like something on Facebook or, like, heart something on Facebook. So we'll just, like, react to it so that you let the other person know, like, I read your thing and I thought about it, which has been nice. Another, like, the step above that is, like, actually talking. The reason why it's easy to answer these questions on this app is because we already talk about it in real life. So we have a lot of conversations. Actually, when we first met, he really didn't like how much we talked about the relationship. He kept saying, like, oh, there's so much maintenance going on. We're always talking about the relationship. Can we just, like, do the relationship? I was like, no, the talking is the important part. Like, the talking and the setting boundaries, it seems like a lot of maintenance, but I think that's also because he found it more emotionally taxing to talk about things and, like, to open yourself and be vulnerable. Like, for him, it took energy to, like, become vulnerable. Whereas for me, I'm like, I always say that I feel like one of those sea cucumbers that are, sea cucumbers, they're, like, basically gelatinous hot messes at the bottom of the ocean floor. And they have such translucent, thin skin that, like, these snails and stuff, like, burrow into their skin. I feel like that. I'm constantly vulnerable and open to parasites and shit at, like, a sea cucumber. No one's gonna ever make sense of this, whatever, okay. Basically, I'm always emotionally open and emotionally vulnerable, so talking about things is not taxing for me in the same way that it is for him. But eventually, we kind of, like, came to an understanding throughout the time we've been together. So yeah, talking about that is really important because obviously if you were just to, like, answer a question or talk about something in a really flippant manner that wasn't very emotionally aware or emotionally intelligent, then there's no point in doing that. The point is to actually talk about it. And then that's why something like the app is nice, because it reminds you to answer something that you would already naturally be open to talking about with your partner, but you maybe just, like, haven't had the opportunity to do it. So the app, like, opens the opportunity. And because, like, it's a question that the app chooses, it's not like one of us are choosing a topic to talk about. So, you know what I mean? It's just a little bit easier. And then the highest level, I think, of that is we are both in therapy, obviously separately, obviously with separate therapists. Not obviously, I guess, like, what I mean is, like, not couples counseling. So that I think, like, everyone should be in therapy and everyone should normalize therapy. You know, one of my favorite comedians is Taylor Tomlinson, and she always talks about that in, like, a really funny but, like, real way. Anna Akana on YouTube does that. Like, I feel like the stigma around therapy just needs to leave. You need to talk to people about your shit, because there's a very good chance that you're, like, fucked up in another way that you just aren't, you know, dealing with. And then other people around you are going to have to deal with that. So deal with your stuff so other people around you don't have to deal with it. But anyway, I've been in therapy for a long time. I come from a very, like, weird family. Did I say I've been in family for a long time or therapy for a long time? I've been in therapy for a long time because I had a weird family, have a weird family. But then I started dating, and then it became less about family, more about my relationship. And it's been very helpful. And not just a relationship, but also, like, about me and trying to just be a more aware, you know, stable person and be there for the people that I love. And my partner was not originally in therapy. When we met, he kind of didn't believe in therapy and didn't think it was a thing. And he had, like, one of the things he told me was that he had done it before, like, for a couple months, like, in college counseling. And I was like, school counseling does not count. Those counselors, like, they don't have enough resources to deal with everyone. And so it's totally different. Also, like, you can't do it for a few months. It's like a years long process. It's a long process. So me and him were actually having some issues, and I was like, these issues that we're fighting about are really issues that you have with yourself. I mean, I wasn't dealing with it super well because I'm only human, but I was like, what could make this better is that if you went to therapy, so he went to therapy. So that was that. Very long-winded answer to that one. Next one I wrote was rebuild family dynamics. This one is the one that I'm failing at right now. I try very hard. I think this one is really hard. I already mentioned before that my family dynamics are kind of iffy. I think everyone's are, though. But it's really hard, especially because the dynamics of my family have shifted again and again through, like, either people dying or people's careers being a bit different, and then, like, money distribution in the family, that kind of stuff, where, like, there's just always, like, shifting, you know, dynamics between people. So I think, again, therapy is the best thing. Communication is harder because even when you try to communicate with someone in your family, even when you try to communicate with them really openly, there's so many years of just baggage behind it, right? Like, even talking to my partner is hard enough, and we've only been together for like a year and a half. Now, say, like, me and my mom, I've known her for 26 years. There's so much, like, it's so hard to talk because you're like, I mean, people always make fun of, like, if you have an argument with your partner and you bring up something from the past and you're like, remember that time you did that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but remember, if you, like, think about if you did that from, like, the time you were basically born. So, like, when I'm arguing with my mom, it's like, remember that thing you did to me when I was 5 that I still haven't gotten over yet, even though I talk about in therapy all the time? It's like that kind of stuff. So that, I think, is really tricky. I'm working on that a lot in therapy, and also just trying to communicate with my mom. My family's very small. It's just my mom and my sister kind of right now, or at the moment. And I think my sister's in therapy, and that really helps. And at one time we actually had a session, like, me and her both went to go see her therapist and, like, talk about stuff, and that was really good for us. But my mom's not yet in therapy, and it can be hard with parents. I mean, everyone knows, like, parents can be, like, difficult, and I've been really lucky. Like, I don't want anyone to think that I'm not lucky or not aware how lucky I am with, like, my, you know, like, I don't want to, like, seem like I am not aware of how lucky I am. At the same time, that doesn't mean that I don't deal with a lot of crap. And then the last thing I wrote was, like, writing an email, basically, like, cold emailing someone, like, work related or career related, and just wanting to come across as like a really genuine, like, you know, heartfelt person instead of just like a entitled and privileged, like, young asshole who doesn't value their time. I feel like it's actually pretty easy to write an email that sounds very nice. You just have to think about it from their perspective and be really thoughtful. I think that's more of just a paranoia, because I've been contacted by people who are younger than me who just like were asking how I got into the different colleges that I got into, or like asked me about my programs, or even like someone who was a friend at one point asked me about one of the internships I did, and the way they worded it was just so ridiculously bad. I know, like, sometimes when I write an email, I'm like, hey, how are you doing? Hope you're well. Or like now, because it's the start of the year, I'm like, hope your 2022 is off to a great start. Hope you had a good holiday season. Those little niceties, when I write them in an email, I feel like, like, it feels like everyone opens an email like that, and it's not special, but at the very least it's polite, so I'm going to put it in there. Surprisingly, not everyone puts those little polite things in there. They're worth putting in there, and they make a difference, even if they seem really stupid and silly. Literally, writing something that's just like, how have you been doing? Or congratulations on your latest work, you know, showing that you like at least Googled the person, or like took 5 minutes to stalk their Twitter or whatever. It helps because, right, this is a person that wants to know that if I give you my time and effort, like, are you going to value that? So I think it's pretty easy to let them know that you will value that. It's just surprising how many people don't. I've had people message me on LinkedIn or email me or message me on Facebook, and they'll just be like, hey, I see that you got into this college or you got this internship. How'd you get it? Who was the people to help you out? Please let me know. Thanks, bye. And it's like, dude, first of all, why are you assuming that someone helped me? Yes, some people did, but it'd be so much nicer if they were like, hey, how are you doing? I'm so sorry to bother you. I know you're really busy, but I'm so-and-so trying to do for this, and I'm struggling with this. I would really appreciate if maybe you could help me with this, or like chat for 15 minutes, or give me your advice on this if at all you have time. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Sincerely, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Like where it's just like a little bit nicer instead of, tell me who the person is that got you this job and put me in contact. Thanks. It's like, no one helped me get that. I, you know, applied for a million things and then got it, and I don't know, it's just being a little bit more thoughtful, you know. I try to think about that. I try to when I email people, I try to let them know, like, I understand that you are making a sacrifice of time for me, and I promise you it will be worth it, and I'd be very grateful. I know I can't do anything to help you now, but it is very, very appreciated, and if I got an opportunity, I would not waste it and would take it very far. I think it's that kind of thing. Obviously, there are moments where you're just like mentally not in a good place and you kind of write a shit email. I've totally done this before, where I've like written emails and like missed a time to meet someone, or just like I was in like a shit place and just like was not on the ball, and the other person definitely thought I just didn't value their time. And it happens every now and then when you drop the ball, and it sucks, but it happens to everyone, and you kind of just like let it go. And even if that person thinks you're a little bit of an asshole, you just have to know, like, some people are just gonna like think I'm an asshole because I dropped the ball, but it's okay. It doesn't reflect on me as a human being. Anyway, that was some of my advice things about being in your late 20s, which is a change from me saying how everything sucks, I don't know how to do anything, and please help me with all of the advice. So a little bit different, but I guess, like, you know, it's easier to say, oh, I don't know how to do anything, rather than say, I may not know how to do anything, but I have been slowly taking steps to try to figure out how to do things. And this video is basically me saying the latter. Okay,